Real estate agent, are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Fanale and the RE Skill Builder Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's Friday, February 13th. Friday the 13th. I hope nobody out there has triskaidekaphobia. Say that 5 times fast. But that is the fear of the number 13, I believe, or Friday the 13th, one or the other. But I don't have that. And we're here with a repeat guest. We're here with Carr. Carr, you have something to do with video, don't you?
A little bit. Yeah, I kind of like video. And I'm not afraid of the number 13 either.
Yeah, no, neither am I. But here we are with Real Estate Talk-TGIF. This is episode 126. We've gone 124 weeks in a row and have done 126 episodes in those 124 weeks.
Congratulations. That is such a huge accomplishment. That is really amazing to be that consistent. Good for you.
Thank you so much. I'm real excited about what I've got going. You know, every now and then what happens is I get emptiness in my schedule, and then I've got to really go after it. So now we are actually booked through January 8th, and that includes Christmas Day and New Year's Day, right? Because they're on Fridays, and people are saying, well, you're going to work? No, it's not work. This is I got to do it. It's like, it's like the news. We got to do it, right? So Karen, just a quick question before we get started. What does TGIF stand for? Do you know?
I would say, thank God it's Friday, but I have a feeling you're going to tell me that's not it. Thank God it's Fanale.
There you go. Thank God it's Fanale. Exactly. See, everybody says I have a feeling you're going to tell me something else, but that's what it is. So I've wasted enough time, and I want to talk about Carr and what Karen's got going on. You were on episode, I believe, 42, and that was 82 weeks ago, right? And the number of things have changed. We talked about your story. If you could just get in a little bit of how you got into video, how you started, talk about Savannah and going there and what you did, and just talk about that for a minute so we can refresh everybody's memory.
Okay, to keep it really brief so we can get to the good stuff, I had been licensed since 2005, and in 2013, we decided to move cross country. So when you move to a new market, you're starting over. Nobody knows you. Nobody's ever heard of you before. They don't know anything about you. And I tried all the old school stuff, didn't really enjoy it. It wasn't really working for me either. Excuse me, but I hated cold calling and door knocking and all that stuff. So then I started making videos just as a way to get my name out there, thinking, I'll let people at least know that I'm here in this new market. And it took off like gangbusters. And within 6 months, that's where I was getting most of my business. And about 12 months in, I had to form a team because I was so busy. I couldn't handle all the inbound leads myself. And it's 100% because of YouTube. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
That's very cool. I mean, I go off every week. I go off camera to share the broadcast. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm running away or doing anything I shouldn't be doing. But
that's okay. If there's a big dead spot, I'll just stall.
Exactly, right. So all right. So YouTube helped you with your business, helped you get started in a place you weren't known,
right?
And all of a sudden, you went from unknown to known, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of intricacies in what you've done. You've written a book. You've got a number of courses which have done really well, right? And you're doing really well. And I've seen your stuff. Your videos are out there. And one of the things that you do, which is really, really cool, Karen, is you give. I mean, your videos are out there. Your how-tos are out there for people to use. Talk about the theory of giving in your video and what you did and how you learned how to do that.
Well, I learned how to do it. I mean, I was mostly self-taught. And then when I got my first lead and thought, oh my gosh, this actually works as a lead gen strategy to be making videos, just talking about my area on YouTube. Then I started going on YouTube and saying, okay, who can I learn from to see how to do this at a higher level? And I found all these like YouTube training coaches like Sunny Lenarduzzi and Nick Nimmin and Sean Cannell and Tim Schmoyer and all the people. And I just started finding all of these videos where they were saying, here is how to be on camera on YouTube, what things work, what things don't work. And I just started implementing everything that they were learning. And my philosophy is nobody goes to YouTube because they want to watch a commercial. So if I, as the real estate agent, am on YouTube talking about my city, and I've got my phone number on screen and my logo across the top, and I'm saying, I'd love to help you, call me. I'm a GRI and I've got this designation and I'm a top producer and blah, 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 blah. Call me, call me, call me. I'm turning it into a commercial, and nobody wants to see that. So if you just give them the information freely, really expecting nothing in return, their walls come down. They start to trust you. They stop feeling like, oh, is a salesperson trying to sell me something that I'm not ready to buy? And they start to actually hear what you're saying because they don't have that resistance of, whoa, bad salesperson, back off. And so they start to hear what you're saying. They get to know, like, and trust you. Then when they're ready to actually hire somebody to help them, you are the natural person that they call. And I hear it over and over and over again from the leads that I get of, I feel like I know you already. Right. You're so down to earth. I feel like we could just go have a cup of coffee and chat, and we'd have a lot of fun working together.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing. There's so many things you just said are going through my mind. First of all, you broke the rules of the bragging for real estate agents. You broke the rules, right? And I've been telling people for years, you can't go out there and say, oh, I'm great, I'm this, I'm that. And you just said that, right? But what's interesting is you see a lot of new agents still doing that. And the reason they're doing it is because they see someone who they think is successful doing that, think, oh, I gotta copy them. I have agents I work with that, well, I couldn't do what you asked me to do because I was busy on Canva making, doing all these different slides and stuff that I want to use on social. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do the humble brag. Don't get on Facebook and say, congratulations to Johnny and Jenny. They just sold their house for $100,000 over the asking price in 12 minutes with 19 offers. And you're trying to say, like, congrats to my clients, but really you're saying, look how awesome I am because I'm the one who did it. And everybody can see right through that. Like, nobody cares what. And do doctors go on social media and say, can we all just take a moment to appreciate that I did my job today?
Right.
Like, nobody else does that. Why do we do that?
Right. Because I don't know. It's interesting. And it's funny because I think it's funny. When I see this stuff, I think it's funny. And I've gotten into arguments up here in my market with several realtors who do it. And I say, one person I don't attack, but I do say, hey, man, tell me the story. Tell me the story. I don't care. Congratulations, but tell me the story. But that's what it's all about. When you're giving information out and you're talking about different things, you're actually telling the story. They say the more you give, the more you get. Right. But if you're giving information out because you want to get, there's a fine line there that we all have to worry about and look at and think about, right? So all right. So you built a system for yourself of doing all this, and slowly but surely, as you said, self-taught, right? There's so much frustration in the world about, how do you do stuff, and things get really complicated. I know for myself, I work with a program, and I'm sure you've heard of it, called ClickFunnels. There's instructions there, but they're all written in Geek. They're not written in English. And I have not learned Geek in my many years, so I have to struggle. But I do well with it. But I talked about struggling, and I talked about people not getting how to do it. Let's talk about the frustrations of video first. What frustrations? And you decided to do it. Were there frustrations that you had to push through to get there?
Not really, because at the beginning, you don't know what you don't know. And so I just thought, how hard can it be? I'm just going to turn on the webcam on my laptop. And I didn't know anything about audio-visual equipment. I didn't know anything about lighting. I didn't know anything about backdrop. And so I just sat in my bedroom, and I was up against a blank wall because I thought that's what you did. You'd had to have like a blank wall behind you with nothing on it. And I set up my laptop and I turned on the webcam. It was horrible resolution. It was grainy. I didn't have lighting. I didn't have a microphone of any kind. It was awful, but I was proud that I made the video because I didn't know that what I was doing was really low budget and looked terrible. So I watched the video back and thought, wow, that camera really kind of sucks. I mean, it's a MacBook Pro. You would think that the laptop camera on it is decent enough that I didn't know. So till I played it back and said, wow, that really sucks. I wonder if I should get a different camera. And I had an iPhone. And so I was like, does this shoot in 4K? Why, yes, it does. Okay, let's use the iPhone instead of the webcam. And just every time I made a video, I tried to make it a little bit better. If I didn't know how to do something, God bless the University of Google. Like, you can find anything you want to know on Google. Like, how do you shoot with better lighting? Oh my God, you'll find 100 million YouTube tutorials. And so I moved to a new house 5 days ago. That's why this looks like this. The wall color is hideous. I don't like this at all because it's essentially the same color as your skin tone. So you just look washed out. So this is going to get a major overhaul. We're going to be painting. We're going to be putting in furniture. We're going to be rearranging everything. And now that I know more, because it's been several years of doing video, I've got all these visions in my head. Like, I've got a whole Pinterest board about what I want the place to look like and how I'm going to arrange the furniture. And when it's done, it's going to look awesome, and it's not going to cost bazillions of dollars. It's going to cost a couple cans of paint. I am going to get a new desk just because this one that I have now is ginormous and it doesn't really fit the space. So I'm going to get a different desk, and I'm going to redecorate a little bit and hang some new art on the wall, but it's going to be, very moderately priced. It's not going to be expensive stuff. And I just have a simple USB microphone like this. It plugs into the back of my computer with a USB port. It does not have to be overly complicated. And in the end, I think it's going to turn out great.
Yeah, I want to talk about equipment real quick, because that's something that people are talking. I talk about how you set up a studio and stuff. And I set up a long time ago a studio, and one of the first things I did is I learned from James Wedmore.
Yes, me too. He's one of the people that I followed. Yes.
48-hour film school, which was out years and years, eight years ago, I think, something like that. But I had been doing videos since like 2007 or whatever. And I took that and I learned a lot. And I bought these box lights and I had everything set up. And I said, these things are hard to, they take up a lot of space and everything. So what I did was I changed everything around. I got rid of a bookcase. I built a white wall. I've got a blue screen, a green screen, a black screen. Haven't used them in months, right? But now what do I got? I got these construction lights on bars on each side of a white screen, and I have a TV monitor set up. So I use that a lot, and that's only when I'm just shooting stuff through my DSLR. This is MacBook Pro. I've got a Yeti, but I've had that for years. And it's the equipment. But you said something that I don't want to confuse people with. You said, does it shoot in 4K? What's the difference between 4K and everything else? Do we need 4K? Is it an advantage to us? Tell me about that. And because I need to know.
Truthfully, I don't know. For the longest time, I thought 720p was perfectly adequate. Then I bumped up to 1080p. Whenever I'm watching a legit photographer or cinematographer on YouTube, they're always saying that they shoot in 4K. Is it necessary? I honestly don't think that it is, because most of the people are watching the videos on their phone. And when your phone is this big, the video is this big. Does that have to be in 4K? Probably not. I think 1080p would be perfectly fine. However, if you have a camera that shoots in 4K, it is going to look that much better. So try it. It also takes up 8 times more space on your computer. So you start to run out of room. Then you got to get an external hard drive or be using Dropbox and Google Drive. So that brings a whole host of other issues when the file size is, 300 meg for a 10-second clip video because the file size was so big. So I think 1080p is probably more than enough for most people.
I agree with you. So the frustrations that really we're talking about are just equipment. What do I do? How do I use it? I remember, my favorite line that I like to steal lines from people, but I give them credit. Katie Lance, remember seeing her in Inman, and she says, look, about video, if it's the way you look or the way you sound, get over it. That's the way you look. That's the way you sound. That's the way it's going to be. Right.
Amen, brother.
And that's the whole thing. Well, I have to do this. And then I learned from a buddy of mine, Matt Allman, out at Social Networks out in California, who people give me the credit for this line, but it's the imperfection is the connection, without question. And that's the way I want people to look at. And we talk about frustrations now with with the pandemic and all that crazy stuff that's going on that we're still dealing with in many parts of the country, there's people having to go virtual and using video. Now, what I try to tell people who are worried about doing video, I say, look, 80% of the time, you really don't even have to be on camera, right? You know, and they get this. So talk to me about virtual and the things you've worked with as far as virtual is concerned and what you're teaching these days.
Well, luckily, I went virtual years ago because I have a lot of clients that are in the military and they're moving here from other parts of the world. We have clients coming from Germany and South Korea and New York and all over the country. And they would say, hey, we want you to help us buy a house when we get there. But we're in South Korea. So we were using Zoom years ago because that's the only way that I could have a face-to-face conversation with somebody if they are all the way across the world. So if one thing good has come out of this stupid pandemic, it's that everybody is finally embracing video conferencing. And they were so afraid to be on video before. And I hope that people are now seeing that the camera is nothing to be afraid of. It's your best friend. It is such great leverage. You can do Zoom calls with people. So for instance, I live half an hour away from my office. If a buyer says, we want to buy a house, I've never done this before, I'm a first-time buyer, can we meet with you? I have to get in my car, drive to the office. It's half hour each way, but I have to be there early and get my laptop set up. So let's say that it was an hour getting there. Right. Then they're 15 minutes late because they ran into traffic and they finally show up and they're all flustered because I couldn't find the office or whatever. We do our presentation. Then I got to drive back home. Like 3 hours of my day is gone. I could have done that in 20 minutes on Zoom from home, and we would have had the exact same experience because we are face to face. They are seeing me. They're reading my body language. Like there would have been nothing different, and it would have been so much more efficient use of everybody's time. So we started doing that years ago. When I say we, I mean my team and I. We started doing it years ago simply because people were all over the world, but it was also a more effective use of our time. And now that we have no choice, like when we went in lockdown, it was March 18th was when we said, that's it, no more school, everybody stay home, shelter in place. It was business as usual for me because that's what I'd been doing anyway.
Right. And you know, what's interesting about it is you talked about doing it a long time. I started teaching it and doing it 6 years ago, I think now. And I've been teaching it for so long, but I had trouble with the buy-in of my agents when I had my brokerage. I just didn't work right. And then one of the things that I used to try to get them to move along a little bit faster was our mutual friend, Lauren Taylor.
I was just going to say our mutual friend, Lauren Taylor, was the one who introduced me to this whole concept of doing virtual listing presentations and buyer presentations. And when she first brought it up, I was like, no way, you got to do it in person. You can't do it over the internet. And she said, BS, it's the best thing you'll ever do. Trust me. And I said, okay, like you've been doing this and you're extremely successful. I'll do it if you tell me to do it. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. So now 3 years later, that's how we do it.
Right. Exactly. And quick shout out for her. I think it's what is it? SavvyHomes.com?
Savvy Homes Portal or Savvy House Hunting. I think they changed the URL. Savvy House Hunting.
Okay, that's what it is. And Lauren's a great person. I worked with her with a gentleman who was on my show a few weeks ago, Grant Wise. So that's how Lauren and I met. We met through Grant. But anyway, we digress. So the great things of doing virtual and getting people to buy in. The interesting thing is now. You'd think that everybody would want to buy into it now, but we still got the frustration. We still have the feeling of well, you know what, I'll just wait, and the people that have really excelled in the past 6 months in this business have decided that they're going to do whatever they have to do, right, to make money. And I think we've seen some people like speed by others that were doing really well. We've seen some really great agents not be so great anymore, but we've seen the great people excel. I mean, you can go through lots of examples of different teams in different parts of the country. Dan Beer, Kyle Whistle out in San Diego, and also a lot of things in New Jersey that I see. The Cora group, the DeVoe group, all these groups doing really, really well. These teams, it's because they've embraced video, right? So as we move through the frustrations of business and the frustrations of video, people had people set goals for 2020. And when all this happened, everybody decided that they needed to stop, or they didn't know what to do, right? So did you have a feeling of hesitation in the beginning? Because I know that happened a lot with some people. They hesitated for maybe a week, 2 weeks. Was there any hesitation in your part to move forward the way you were doing business, or did you promote it more?
Oh, I totally like went into panic mode for about 10 days. It was, I remember crying in the supermarket because everybody was wearing a mask. And if you got within 6 feet of someone, they were giving you the stink eye. And God help you if you had allergies and you coughed behind your mask, they thought you were going to kill them. And I was in Kroger going, this is surreal. This is like watching a movie where it's post the apocalypse and like people went to the supermarket to buy food and nobody trusts each other. And we're all looking at each other with like, back off. I mean, it was awful. And I went home and was like, this sucks. And I just lost it.
Yeah.
And
I didn't like that.
And after the initial breakdown, you know, it was like a week or two where I just said, okay, this is stupid. We got to get through this. The world is not going to come to an end. It's going to be fine. And then it was like, it seems like everybody kind of had that initial reaction at the beginning. And then by April, it was like, okay, this is our new normal. Let's figure out how we can make it work. And then our freaking housing market took off, and our housing market has exploded here in Savannah. So as soon as we were able to start showing properties again, like at the very beginning, we were always considered an essential business, but we had to carry a note in our bag with like a signed letter from the broker that said, I am conducting business and I have the ability to do so and the permission to do so. After we didn't have to do all that silliness anymore, things really exploded and values started skyrocketing. Suddenly people started selling because they were making a huge amount of money where they had not before. And now, not only we just doubled down on video, I hired more agents, started making more videos. Absolutely. After the initial like freak out period, then we went in even harder.
Wow, that's pretty amazing, you know. And we did the same thing happened here with all of that, and we started immediately going into teaching people how to do virtual walkthroughs, virtual open houses. I actually have. I've developed a program, and it's not really that. To me, it's a big deal. I developed a system on how to do on-demand open houses. You've heard of on-demand webinars. We've all seen them. We've all watched them. The only difference between this and that is that you can actually stop it, go back, look forward. So I've set it up for real estate agents where, you know, you've got a landing page where you've already set up, hey, you know what, go there, sign up for the open house. They get the video, they get everything else. They can ask questions right through the whole thing, but they can watch it 24 hours a day for 48 hours, which is really cool. So I set that up. So I've begun to build virtual programs. I have a virtual listing presentation, which is not a big deal, but it goes through one of the things, as you know, when you do a listing presentation, you've got to ask some questions to help you market the home. All these questions are answered in forms that they can go through. So I've set the whole thing up pretty nicely. So now we're talking about video, we're talking about virtual, we're talking about all this stuff, right? And then what happens, that happens a lot, but now even more, which is why people did not excel, is this feeling of overwhelm. Yeah. Right? There's video, right? You got to do video. You got to do virtual. You know, well, I don't know how to do that. And you got to work through it. Talk to me about if you've ever had the feelings of overwhelm, because you've done really, really well. You've gone through building a brand new business in a brand new location, gone into video, and then all of a sudden, you now got a coaching program for video, and there had to be overwhelm along the way. So if you have any examples of that, it'd be great to share. And then we can talk how agents can get through the overwhelm.
Oh, yeah. At the beginning, when I launched this coaching program, and I was essentially doing 2 full-time jobs. I was selling real estate full-time and I was coaching full-time. And there was a period where I absolutely felt overwhelmed. And then I had to just step back and say, all right, 80-20 rule. What is the 20% of things I'm doing that is resulting in 80% of the business? And everything that needed to get done, but did not have to get done by me because it was not a dollar producing activity, got outsourced. And I immediately went out and hired a bunch of Filipino virtual assistants. And boy, that was the greatest thing ever.
So, but don't you have to have business to do that first? I mean, one of the things people say is, well, you know what? I don't have enough business to do that, and I don't know what to do. What do you say to that?
Well, very, very early on, in fact, my first year in real estate, my managing broker said, if you don't have an assistant, you are an assistant. And I fought it tooth and nail. Like, I don't have the money. I haven't even had a closing yet. How can I hire an assistant? What are they going to do? I don't have anything for them to do, and I don't have the money to pay them. But here's the deal. We all find money. Like I'm talking about paying somebody $3 or $5 an hour. This is not an excessive amount of money. But if you're going to Starbucks, or you're, renting videos on demand, and you've got Netflix and all this kind of stuff, like, could we reallocate some of the money that you're spending frivolously on things that are not necessary to something that's actually going to help you grow your business? And I'm talking, how about $50 a week? I know that when our family goes out to dinner, we spend well over $50 for a family of 4. Sure. If we go out for sushi, we're paying like $125. So could we not do that one day a week in order to be able to pay an assistant? You just have to kind of prioritize, right? And then the people that say, oh, I don't have time, but yet they can tell you everything that happened on Game of Thrones last week. I'm like, okay, so maybe we just need to decide where our priorities lie. And instead of binge watching Orange is the New Black, I don't even know what TV shows are on these days. I really don't watch very much TV. And just decide that maybe instead of watching TV for 3 hours, I'm going to make a video that will actually bring me a client and could result in a $10,000 commission check. And when you get a $10,000 commission check, can you take $500 of that and put it aside to pay an assistant? Yes, you can.
Right. See, that's one of the things that I like to work in my programs where I teach people how to use money first, how to use it and what they have to do. I mean, what a great segue to quickly say who my guest is next week. That's Mike Michalowicz, Profit First. But we don't want to digress that far. But, it's right. You've got to put a couple of dollars away here and there to be able to build. So, one thing is the money. Okay. So there are people out there, great agents that started out with nothing. The first thing they did was hire an assistant. I mentioned his name earlier, Kyle Whistle. He said the first thing he did when he got into business was hire an assistant. He now has a team that does 500-600 homes a year. Okay, so tell me that doesn't work, and then I'll talk to you. You can go talk to Kyle. But anyway,
yeah, right. I mean, Kyle is brilliant because he said that he was spending like whatever it was, $300, $400 per listing to hire a photographer who would come and take the photos and shoot the video. And at the end of the year, they sat down and they looked at how much money they had spent on that. And he said, well, holy crap, I could just hire somebody full time. Hence Brian, his videographer, who now does all of the, and he's on staff and he pays him a full-time salary because it was more effective for him to do that than just outsource it to the local videographer for every single listing that he got. And then when you watch his videos, you're like, oh my God, mine could never look that good on the best day of my life. So you know what? I don't try to do my own editing. I outsource that too.
Right. And someday maybe I'll get there. But, as far as this broadcast, we cut this up in pieces and, my VA puts it all over the place for me. Now we're optimizing a little bit for SEO. We're optimizing for other things. We're trying to monetize it with other things we're doing. And so I'm growing up as time goes on. Even I've been doing this for years and years and years. So great. If you don't have an assistant, you are an assistant. And that's what your broker taught you. What's really interesting is it's almost the same as these days as hiring a coach, and people talk about, coaching, not, I can't afford it.
Or, I can't afford it. It's so expensive. Well, maybe if you had a coach, you wouldn't be so broke and you'd be able to afford it. It's like the chicken or the egg, right? Which comes first?
Yeah. And I learned that a long time ago. I've worked with a lot of the greats that I think all of them have been on this broadcast one time or another, and a couple of times. But it's you have to decide where your business is going to go. You have to decide how much you want to make. You have to decide how you're going to do things, because you can say you want to do things. That doesn't mean it's going to come. People talk about manifestation all the time, but if you're you're not really working on it. So I have this thing called GCAP, where goals, commitment, action plans, and performance. So the P is the most important part. It's actually doing the work, right? You can plan as much as you want. And everybody now is in the midst of their planning and everything, which I think they should have been done a couple of weeks ago, but that's beside the point. They're in a time of planning their business for 2021, right? And a coach should be in there. Who are you going to work with? Who's standing beside you? I mean, we've all talked to different people. We can talk to a lot of people. Now there's a lot of people out there that when they say, hey, look, I'd like to take you out to lunch and pick your brain. Great. You buy lunch and pay me $500. I'd be glad to do that, because that's where it is now. That's where it is now, right? Talk to me about a little bit about the coaching maybe you've experienced, or what your views on it, which you just mentioned a little bit. Go there a little bit.
Yeah, you got to find somebody who is doing what you want to be doing at a much higher level that can teach you. Why try to figure it all out on your own? If you can just have somebody show you the shortcuts to get it done so much faster. And then when you start closing business, and let's face it, we're not selling shoes at Nordstrom where you might make $50 on commission. When you sell a house, you're making a shit ton of money, right? So pardon my French, you are in a position where when you get a commission check, you can allocate some of that money back into your business. And you need to do that. You can't just take every commission check and blow it on a trip to Hawaii and, a Chanel handbag. You've got to reinvest money back into your business in order to keep growing the business. Right. Whether that's hiring other people who you use as leverage to help you get more done so that you're not working so hard, or people that can teach you how to get stuff done at a higher level.
Right. So let's break it down. Let's talk get into a little bit of video right now. Let's break it down as to what are the pieces of the perfect video? What could it include? Because a lot of people are going to talk about doing video, but they're not going to know how to do it. It's
right.
Not like, it's funny. I see Cheplak talk about this all the time. This is people say, when you go live, don't say, hi, everybody, I'm waiting for these people to come on. It's funny the way he does it, but that's another thing. That's live. But what are the pieces of a video that are going to make it successful?
Well, I talk specifically about YouTube. I really don't do a ton of video on social media because my personal opinion is that people are not looking for real estate information on Facebook and Instagram. They're looking for it on Google, and Google owns YouTube. So if you have a good video on YouTube, it shows up on the first page of Google. And all you have to do is go out there and Google anything about moving to Savannah, living in Savannah, retiring in Savannah, cost of living in Savannah. You're going to see my videos all over the first page of Google, and they're all there for free without spending any money on pay-per-click ads. That's why I love YouTube. So a YouTube video, you do not start the video by saying, hi, everyone. I'm Karen Carr. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Coastal Area Partners here in Savannah. Subscribe to my channel. Like, you don't start the video by talking about yourself and asking for something from the viewer. You've got to start with giving. So tell them what the video is going to be about, why they should care, why they should watch, what's in it for them. Let's say that your video is about, 7 great suburbs of Nashville. And in the video, you might say something like, if you're thinking about living in Nashville and you want to live in the suburbs, I'm going to tell you my 7 favorite suburbs to consider when you're moving to Nashville. Let's go. And then your little animated logo comes in and it goes away again. And then you introduce yourself. Hey, everyone, I'm Karen. I'm a realtor here in Nashville. Today, we're talking about the 7 best suburbs. I spent very little time talking about myself, right? I introduced myself. I said who my brokerage was so that I don't get in trouble with my state. I have to be in compliance. Right. But then you talk more about what's in it for them. That's probably the biggest mistake I see on YouTube is they spend the whole time talking about themselves and how I can help you, how I'm so great for you. Listen, the more you have to tell somebody how great you are, the less great you are, right? Just tell them the 7 suburbs that you love and why. I love this neighborhood because it's got a community pool with water slides and blah, blah, blah. I love this neighborhood because it's 5 minutes from the beach. I love this neighborhood because of blah, blah, blah. You're just telling them your opinion in these areas that you like, and you're showing them footage of these areas so that they're getting to see the whole neighborhood, not just the individual house as it appears on Zillow or realtor.com. You're showing them the whole neighborhood. And then at the end, they're like, wow, I really like this girl. Like, she was not being overly salesy. She was not trying to pitch me. She was just being genuinely helpful. Let's call her when it's time to buy a house. And that works really, really well. And then a great call to action at the end of the video is watch another video, because the more you can get them to binge watch your content on YouTube, the more YouTube shows them more of your videos. Just like on Netflix, when you binge watch something, it says, hey, because you watched this, you would probably like this too. Same thing happens on YouTube.
Right. So let's go through, you said it plain and simply and really great. The pieces of the video, right? So they were, go ahead. Number
opening
one.
Hook. So start with like your opening hook. You got to hook in their attention right at the very beginning. What's the video about? Why should they care? Why should they watch? How can I keep them watching as long as possible? Then you introduce yourself, but keep it very brief. You don't have to tell them how long you've been in business and how you're a top producer and blah, 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 because they don't care. They just want to know the information that they clicked on to receive. Like, they read the title, they clicked on it. They don't know who you are at this point, most likely. So don't spend a lot of time talking about yourself. Give them the information.
Right.
Go through the topic of the day and then wrap up with a call to action. But the call to action is not, if you know anyone who wants to buy or sell, call me. Here's my phone number. Instead, how about, so now you know the seven great secret places around Nashville. But do you know how much it costs to live in Nashville? You should watch this video next, where I talked all about the cost of living in Nashville and how it compares to other major cities in the South. See you on that video next. So now they click on that one, they watch that video, you get more FaceTime with them, they get to know you more. They're telling the YouTube algorithm that they like your content, so YouTube's going to keep putting more of your videos in front of that person long term. Yep, it's an amazing strategy. It's kind of like free retargeting ads, because YouTube is following them around YouTube with more of your videos, but you don't have to pay any money to have that happen.
All right. So really important here. I mean, we talked about you just went through the pieces of the video, and we mentioned this several times, a call to action. Mm-hmm. But your call to action, is not like, call me and the line you said. I wish people would just lose that line forever. If you think of anybody's looking to buy or sell, please call me. Right. Oh God, please don't make me throw up. But anyway, so call to action. You said you're not giving out your phone number. How come you're not giving out contact information? I don't understand that. Talk to me about that and the reasons for it, and how to do what you just did in a little bit more specificity. Wow, that's a good word.
Yeah, no kidding. I just find that because people went on YouTube, they had a question and they were Googling it. That's the reason why YouTube is so effective, is because nobody will ever see your video on YouTube unless they were looking for it. So they typed in where to live in Nashville and your video popped up in the search results, which means 100% of the people that watched the video were interested in the topic, versus putting that same video on Facebook. Facebook just determines whose newsfeed it's going to show up in. It only shows up in, 18% of the people that are connected to you. So It's not going out to your whole subscriber base anyway. It's going out to a very small select chunk. And then of those people, how many of them were interested in that topic? Hopefully some, but definitely not all. Whereas on YouTube, they were all interested in it, or they wouldn't have clicked on it to watch it in the first place. So they've got a question, they're doing a Google search, they're doing a search on YouTube. They go, oh, okay, this looks like a good video. I'm going to watch it. If you make it too salesy, they don't stick around to the end. They just don't like it. So instead, get them to watch more and more and more of your content. And then occasionally I'll say, so now you know why Nashville is so awesome. Click this link to go download my free relocation guide. And they'll go to my website and they have to put in there. It's like ClickFunnels, put in your name, email, phone number, and they get the free PDF relocation guide that I've made. So now by the time they opt in for that form, They know you, they like you, they trust you, they give you their legitimate contact information. And when you call them, they say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to you. You're a celebrity. This is so cool. I can't believe you called me." They actually thank you for picking up the phone and calling them. It's the weirdest thing ever. These are the best internet leads I've ever gotten in my whole life because they are so warm, if not hot, by the time you call them. They're thrilled that you picked up the phone and called them. Totally different from any other sort of internet leads that you might be getting.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's like no one is really going to social media to look for a house.
Right.
You're not going to social media to look for an agent, but they are going to Google and typing in homes in Savannah, Georgia, homes in wherever, right? They're typing that in. So one of the things that helps people find you on YouTube when they type something in is tags and all kinds of things. So can you explain a little bit how they're used? I mean, briefly, you don't have to get into the whole thing because I know you get into it in your trainings and stuff. How does that help? I mean, keywords, tags, descriptions, it's all like, for a lot of people, it's gobbledygook and it's a point of frustration. It's kind of geek, but it really isn't. So just talk about that a little bit, if you would, please.
Sure. So a tag on YouTube is not like a hashtag. It's not where you take all of the words and you smush them together with no spaces and you put the hashtag sign in front of it. For us old timers, we call that the pound sign. It's not like that. So a keyword is a phrase. It's kind of a misnomer. It's not a single word. It is the phrase that they typed into the search bar. So it could be something like best real estate agent in New Jersey, homes for sale in Nashville, moving to Seattle, Washington. It's the phrase that they typed into the search bar. Right. So you want to be thinking about what are they searching for? And if my video were going to show up in the search results, what would it be about? And what would I call it so that I could use that keyword as like the way that my video would get found, essentially. So I like to put the keyword in the title. If the keyword is moving to Nashville, it could be something like 5 reasons why you should consider moving to Nashville. So I've got the keyword in the title, then I put it in the description, I put it in the tags, I put other things in the tags such as moving to Nashville, Tennessee, relocating to Nashville, living in Nashville, cost of living in Nashville, anything that is telling the YouTube algorithm what this video is about so that it will show up in the search results when somebody goes looking for it.
So very, very, very briefly, it's knowing what the video is about. It should be in your title. It should be in your description as well as in your tags. And yes. I'm going to venture to say that if you were to use real estate as a tag, it's probably not a good one.
It's just so broad. I mean, there are millions and millions and millions of videos on YouTube that are about real estate. So how about real estate in Pooler, Georgia? Make it very location specific. Or, you might be able to say real estate in New Jersey because your state is small. But even so, you probably don't service the entire state, even if you live in Rhode Island. I would assume you serve like a specific geographic area. So you would say the geographic area versus hashtag real estate.
Well, it's funny, the state of New Jersey is long and narrow, but some of us are really in tune with that. Actually, South Jersey is actually the 51st state, but nobody told them yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, completely different than North Jersey. People, everything, but I digress again. But the thing is, a lot of people, but and people should understand this, especially about video, is that the internet has made us all neighbors, right? So if I wanted to market, like for instance, would you market with a video? You see an area where there's people want to move to. And I tell people, so you can't get listings there because, everybody's there. How about you market to where people are coming from? And you can do that with video, right? You can do that. Have you ever done, and do you do YouTube ads, YouTube marketing that way? Or is that something that you stayed away from and you just relied on organic and SEO the way you do it with tags?
I really have relied on organic because it's so effective and it works so well that I just haven't felt the need to start running lots of ads. I mean, I have a video called Living in Savannah, What I Love and What I Hate. It's kind of a pros and cons of living in this area video. It's had almost 40,000 organic views in 2 years. I've never run an ad to that video, and I get leads from that every freaking day. So you can run ads if you want to, but the idea is that you're showing up in front of these people over and over again with your call to action saying, watch another video. You're earning their trust. They're getting to know you. If you just stick an ad down their throat, you're going to get a cold lead versus getting a warm lead. And my conversion ratio is ridiculous. It's like well above 50%. When I get a lead, the only time they don't convert is if they don't move after all. Because by the time they fill out that form or they call me or they send me an email or however they contact me, they've pretty much already chosen to work with me because they're ready to sell or buy a house. And I just haven't really found the need to do a lot of ads. I mean, you can, but here's the thing. I did boost one video. It's the same as boosting a post on Facebook. It was, I'm going to pay a little bit of extra money, like $10 a day, to put these in front of more people. And I got a boatload of views. In 10 days, I think I got something like 3,000 views, which was awesome. However, it brought me one new subscriber. One. That was it. So yes, it got more views, but did it bring me more leads and more clients and more subscribers and all the things? No, it didn't. And, granted, that was one video. I should probably do this a lot more frequently to have some concrete data. But in the end, I just decided I really don't need to. It's working so well organically that I just haven't felt the need to.
So with all the time and effort that you put in, is there actually a cost per lead that you can figure out? Are there any metrics that you can talk to people about, or is it just do the work and it'll happen?
Yeah, I don't really have a cost per lead because of that.
Cool. I asked you that reason because I asked you that question because I was pretty sure that was the answer.
Yeah. Now I can tell where my clients come from because it's really cool. If you have a website that can do a landing page, or you have landing page software like Instapage or Lead Pages, any of those type of things, ClickFunnels, you can make 5 secrets to selling your house faster than your next door neighbor. And you make this little document as a PDF, you upload it, you make a landing page for it. In your video, you're talking about, I don't know, curb appeal secrets. And you say, so hopefully that was a great video to teach you how to make the front of your house look amazing so that when people drive up, they love it. Do you want to get my free guide to helping your house sell faster? Go download it. If the only place you ever advertise that landing page is in that video, then 100% of the leads that come from that landing page came from that video, and it becomes trackable. As long as you're not using the same landing page for multiple videos, you can really track how those do. So you can say, okay, this video got 100 views and I got 3 leads from it and I got 1 closing from it. So now okay, it takes 100 views to get this number of dollars. And you can, if you start to track it that way. I typically use the same landing page on multiple videos, so it's harder to track because I figure if I'm going to make the landing page, I'm going to make the lead magnet, I'm going to use it more than once because that way I don't have to have like 100 different lead magnets. I can just have 5 or 10 and I keep reusing them over and over again.
Exactly. And people should look at this and think about this. Is they're worried about spending money, but you have all the equipment you need right here, right? You have all that equipment you need. You don't need anything else. And you can get business for free. It just takes some work. So you want to answer a couple of questions that we've got up a little bit?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, cool. Okay, so let's see. Well, we've got Fahad saying ideas on naming your YouTube channel.
I would name it either after yourself or your business name or whatever branding you have on your Facebook business page and Instagram and all the stuff. If you're a solo agent, but your plan is to grow and have a team, like I started my channel with just my name, but then I knew I wanted to have a team eventually. So I named the team, which did not yet exist, Georgia Coast Homes. And that is my website, georgiacoasthomes.com. So I named the channel Georgia Coast Homes, and then my Facebook and all my other accounts, they're all Georgia Coast Homes. So that way it was consistent branding across all of the different platforms. And it was not only branded in my name, so that if Nicole, my buyer's agent, or Kimberly, another agent, makes a video, people are not like, well, who's this? Like, this is the Karen Carr channel, right? That way it's branded as our team name instead.
Right. So what about, just quickly, I want to just tag team off of Farhad's question. What about channel art? What about the cover photo? Is that important?
Oh my gosh, it's so important. Yes, it needs to be. Like if somebody is scrolling on their phone, it's a very small picture, right? And I want to be able to glance at it and just immediately understand what this channel is about. So I want to know that it's about real estate, and I'd like to see your face on it and where you are located, because if you live in Phoenix, but I live in New Jersey, you're not going to be able to help me buy a house or sell a house. So I need to know where you're located as well. But there's a fine line between including all of that stuff and then making it too busy. So we don't want to have just like tons and tons of text all over it. But I think if you've got your face and an image that kind of suggests where you are located and, the name of the channel, that's really the main important things. I also like to put on there your upload schedule. So I say right on my channel, new videos every Monday. There is no better accountability partner in the whole world than saying I post new videos every Monday. Because if you put that on your channel art, by God, you better post a new video every Monday.
That's cool. Thank you for that one. And I just want to make one other point along with that, is that please don't get fancy with your name. Be simple. Don't tell people how great you are, anything in your name. Anyway, next question. Should we get rid of our old, not good videos that don't follow this better format, especially if they barely have views?
I wouldn't worry about it. I leave them up there. It's some of my oldest videos. They're so bad. I mean, so bad. And it's funny because when I get a client, occasionally they'll say, I went back and I watched your earliest videos and oh my gosh, you're so much better now than you used to be. And I'm not insulted by that. I take that as a compliment. Well, yeah, I would hope so. I've been making videos for 3.5 years every single week, except for the 1 week when we had to evacuate for a hurricane. And I would hope that I've gotten better over time. So I would leave them up there. There's no harm in leaving them up there.
I have somewhere on one of my YouTube channels, one of my first videos, which I tried to be funny. It was during the mortgage crash back in 2008. I did that, and I had put up a sign that said, "We'll work for food," during the video. But anyway, so that's a good answer. So I also have a buddy of mine, Chris, that asks, I'm in a dilemma. This guy's moving to North Carolina, and he spoke to someone and said that he to start my YouTube channel in North Carolina, because if I start it in New Jersey and then start another one in North Carolina, I'll confuse the algorithm. So he's in New Jersey doing business in New Jersey. He's going to move to North Carolina and do business there. What should he really do?
Well, I guess it depends on when are you moving. Is this in the immediate future, in the next couple of months? If so, I would probably just wait until I get to North Carolina, quite honestly, because, you're right. You're going to spend all of this time making content for your area now. And then in a couple of months, you're going to be in a new place and you're kind of rebranding the whole channel. I don't know. But if this is like a year from now, I'd go ahead and start doing it. So with my channel, I started making videos when I lived in Atlanta, and then I moved to Savannah. I didn't get rid of all of the old videos from Atlanta. They're still there. I still get leads from them. I just refer them to my former coworkers when that happens. Right. And all I did was I changed my channel art. I changed the name of the channel because it used to be called Northern Atlanta Real Estate. Now it's called Georgia Coast Homes. And I just wrote a little blurb in the about section that said, guess what? I moved. I'm not in Atlanta anymore. I'm now in Savannah, but I'm still in Georgia. And if you're moving to Atlanta and you're buying a house there, or you're selling a house there, we can still help you. Drop me a line. I'll refer you to one of my colleagues, blah, blah, blah. It didn't seem to confuse the algorithm at all. Like, the algorithm is pretty dang smart. There's something like 8 million data points that it looks at. It'll figure out where you're located pretty darn quick.
Do you think if he created a YouTube channel for New Jersey and then just copied it over for North Carolina and kept both channels, would that make sense? Or is that just, it's not a lot of work because you're just going to put everything over what it was. You're just going to copy it. Does that make sense or no?
Well, when you say copy, do you mean duplicate the videos?
No, I'm just saying duplicate the channel, duplicate the artwork, but change it to North Carolina and then start doing North Carolina videos.
Yeah. I mean, you could absolutely do that. It really just depends on how soon is this move. If it's imminent, I wouldn't bother starting for New Jersey. I'd
Right.
just start from, and if you're already licensed in North Carolina, could you start making videos now? Like
Right.
you could start making videos about the area. Maybe every time you go down there on a house hunting trip, you take a lot of footage, and then you could start making videos so that by the time you get there, you already have stuff that you can post. As soon as you hang your license with a brokerage, you're ready to hit the ground running. That would be great.
Yeah, this is a great hardworking agent. I know Chris personally. I worked with him, done video with him. So, he's a real hardworking guy. And he asked me this question. And I was saying have two different channels, but you answered the questions really great. Karen, we've been on almost an hour now. We've been talking about a lot of great things, and most importantly, what I have to ask you is how do people get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you or talking to you about coaching them in their video and everything else? How do people get in touch with you?
My website is youtubeforagents.com. I have a YouTube channel called YouTube for Agents where I just make tons of videos teaching real estate agents how to use YouTube as a lead generation strategy. I'm actually going to be doing a 5-day challenge starting on November 30th, and I would love to have them sign up to take that. Now I just have to remember what the link is to sign up. I believe.
Put it up if you give it to me.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it's youtubeforagents.com, and then it's something like November challenge, but I'll have to figure it out for sure.
Okay, so why don't we find that? Is
Okay.
it /November challenge?
Oh, let me find out. I'll tell you in 1 second. And that way, the 5-day challenge is I go live each day, and on day 1, I teach you something, and then we do it. And on day 2, I teach you something different, and then we do it. And then after the 5 days is over, the idea is that you have overhauled your YouTube channel so that you can start getting business from it. So I just found the link. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. It is youtubeforagents.com/November 2020 challenge. And it has hyphens in between November and 2020 and challenge. So I'll just put it in there and you can copy and paste it. But if they wanted to register for that, we're going to be starting that in a little over 2 weeks. We go live each day for around half an hour, 40 minutes, give you a little homework assignment. And then hopefully at the end of the 5 days, your channel has had a big makeover and now you're ready to start making some killer videos that'll bring you some business.
Let's see if I can get this right. Public typing has never been good for me. Public speaking besides. Let's see if this is it. Let's see if we got this. Let's see. Is that it?
That's it. Well,
Awesome.
that's actually NOV-2020.
Okay.
Sorry, shorten the November to just NOV.
NOV-2020. Yeah. So I want to ask you a couple of more quick questions.
Sure.
You've been successful using video. You've spoken all over the place. That's when I first saw you was your first time speaking at Inman, and that was a couple of years ago. That's a long time ago, I think, right? And that's how we met. You were episode 42 here. Do you believe that what you teach can work for other businesses as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think any service-based business should feel comfortable having a YouTube channel because people go to Google. How many billions of Google searches are done on a daily basis? And why shouldn't your business show up in those search results if you are able to help them? If
Right.
you're a local plumber and they're Googling, like, how do I stop my sink from dripping? You make a video where you teach them that. And then you say, by the way, I'm a plumber in New Jersey, and you put all of your contact information down below. And if by chance they live in New Jersey, they might call you when they need your services. If you sell something online, you're golden because you can sell that to anybody all over the world. If you're hyper local, like a real estate agent is, we're looking for people that want to do business in our area, but it's still very, very effective. I mean, you don't have to have thousands and thousands of subscribers either. I think I got my first lead when I had something like 88 or 90 subscribers. And now I still haven't even hit 10,000. I'm at roughly like 9,500 subscribers, and we're getting leads every single day from people that are finding videos that we made in 2017.
Yeah, it's funny is that people see a lot of stuff, and one of the things that happens to me, although I'm one of the things I truly miss is running into people like you at different conferences and stuff, and hopefully we'll get to do that next year. I've made so many great friends through this platform over the last year, and I just can't wait to see them in person. But I feel like I know them. I've run into a couple of people in the area that I've met through Zoom video, through other videos I've done, and didn't realize when I saw them face to face that I had not met them in person before.
Right? Isn't that funny?
Right. And that's how we mentioned Lauren Taylor. We were on video so many times. It was like, we were next door neighbors, right? When we finally met in person. I want to thank you so much. I have one other question. So let's just throw that out there since we got a Farhad, I got to follow. Would it be okay to have a group name and cover 2 cities in your channel?
If the 2 cities are near each other, I think it's okay. But if you're talking about like one in New Jersey and one in New York, I feel like that should be 2 different channels. It's really hard to have a specific focus of your channel if you're trying to be in 2 different places. For me, I used to make videos for real estate agents and put them on my Georgia Coast Homes channel. And I had a friend say, you've got to make a new channel. You can't be targeting the person that wants to buy a home in Savannah and a real estate agent in another part of the country on the same channel. It just doesn't make sense. You should have 2 different channels so that each channel has a very specific focus. This is what the channel is about, and this is who it's for. So unless they're 2 suburbs of the same metro area, it's probably 2 different channels.
Okay, so quickly, what about like the Triangle in North Carolina? What about the Delmarva Peninsula, which is Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, that corner?
To me, that's your whole service area. That's like me saying I serve Metro Savannah. I serve all of the suburbs around Savannah, and that's fine. But if I said I serve Atlanta and Savannah, to me, that'd be two different channels because they're 5 hours apart.
Right. Okay, so I have one final question for you, and this is a question that I ask everyone at the end of the show. It's really a simple question. Karin, how can I help you? How can I help you grow your business?
Thank you for having me on this podcast and sharing it out and letting people know that YouTube is an amazing way to get business. And if it's something that you are at all inclined in learning more about, please feel free to come to my website. I've got tons of free resources for you. I'd love to be able to help you do that. I've helped, well over 1,000 people now, agents and loan officers all over the world who are seeing real results getting business from their YouTube channels. It's pretty exciting.
Well, that's really exciting. What you've done and gone through with everything, and it's been exciting today because I do a lot of video, and honestly, I think I fumble on YouTube, and now it's like I've made a lot of changes in how I promote myself and how I promote my business, and I know that that's going to change, plain and simple. I want to thank you so much for coming on, and next week we have Mike McAllowicz coming on, as I had said. And that's going to be great. We're going to talk about your money. That's going to be a special time at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time with Mike McAllowicz. It'll be a short broadcast, but I look forward to seeing everybody there. Karin, please stay on for a minute as we roll out of this. Let's see if I can do it with all the fancy tools and toys I have. So we'll see.
Wait, do I get a second hat?
Oh. We almost forgot about that. Yes, you do. You're going to get a new and improved hat.
Yay, good, because my 8-year-old son stole mine. He wears it all the time, and I'm like, "Can I have my hat back, please?"
Yes, we will be getting you. We will be getting you a new hat, and this one will be autographed with the number of the show on the bill as well.
That's cool. Thank you.
That'd be really cool. So stick on for a second. Let's see if I can maneuver StreamYard here, and we'll see you. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes.